You may be wondering, just how big is this game?
It is large.
You can land into Atlantis, but you can also land and explore anywhere on the planet. And it's not just this planet, it's all the planets in the system. And not just this system, but over 100 systems. Over 1,000 planets, all open for you to explore.
You might have seen this clip and thought, is Starfield going to be like No Man's Sky? Well, don't you worry, because it's not. There are definitely some similarities, predominantly the procedural generation of the planets, with Starfield having a little over 1,000 and No Man's Sky having 18 quintillion. Yeah, that is 18 with 18 zeros. Even though Bethesda didn't need all this space, they made so many planets because this would make the game feel realistic. In real life, the vast majority of the planets are just basic floating rocks with nothing special going on, and only a handful are actually suitable for us to live on. So it would be weird if the game took place in one solar system with a bunch of Earth-like planets. Also, when you heard the sentence 100 solar systems and 1,000 planets, with a bit of simple math you would say that every solar system has 10 planets on average. But this seems highly unlikely since it's so far from reality. As far as we know from all the stars that have exoplanets, the average amount is roughly 1.3 planets per star. And we haven't even discovered a system with 10 planets. The highest we know of is 8, which is our own solar system and the Kepler 90 system. So I think when Todd Howard said 1,000 planets, he meant planets and moons, which would make a little bit more sense. One important thing to note is that the game world is made with procedural generation by Bethesda in-house. And it's not randomly generated every time you start a new game, like in Minecraft for example. So that means all planets will be the same for everyone. You should see these generated planets as a foundation for Bethesda to build off with their handcrafted content. And yes, there is a lot of handcrafted content. New Atlantis was described to be the largest city ever in a Bethesda game. And the two other major cities, Aquila and Neon, don't seem small either. So there's gonna be at least as much handmade content as in the previous games. It is just gonna be more spread out over these 1,000 planets. And these handcrafted locations are gonna be very easy to find. We can clearly see that they are marked on your map and it looks like we can just scan for them. New Atlantis is marked with a eye icon. Also, there seems to be a space station here and 2 other unidentifiable markers. And if we zoom in on this planet, we can see 2 more, with one being a structure. Judging by the fact that these are grayed out and don't show up on the solar system map, these are probably only discovered by the scanner and the player hasn't actually been there yet. Another interesting thing to note is that every planet and system has its own completion percentage, which will likely consist of handcrafted locations visited, the different species of flora and fauna discovered, and the available resources discovered. So I'm curious how long it will take before the first person has 100% in all solar systems. We know not all these planets are gonna be filled with handcrafted content, so you might think it would just be a large empty wilderness. Well, it probably will be, but there's one thing to spice up your explorations. It's Starfield's new and improved random encounter system. In past Bethesda games, random encounters ranged from simple enemies trying to attack you,
Alright, hand over your valuables, or I'll gut you like a fish.
to weird situations along the road, like a farmer walking a painted cow, with the sole purpose of making the world feel more alive. These encounters usually don't involve more than a handful of people or creatures. But in Starfield the world is a lot bigger than its predecessors, so the random encounters also need to be a lot bigger. Will Shen, the lead quest designer, explained this in an interview last December. The example he gives us a better understanding of how this will work. Imagine you're just walking on this planet in search of some materials, and then you see a small settlement on the horizon. If you go there, you'll find out that one of the inhabitants has been kidnapped by some space pirates. Then the other settlers point you in the direction of a nearby cave. Once you arrive there, you can kill the pirates and rescue the person. And I would imagine that killing these pirates isn't your only option. You could perhaps also try to intimidate them or pay them off so they will release their hostage. Once you bring the hostage back safe, there's obviously a reward waiting for you in the settlement. I think a system like this is a good step forward for Bethesda's random encounters, assuming they have a nice variety of tasks and enemies in these dynamically placed locations. Other activities could entail clearing out a hostile creature nest or retrieving lost cargo. Another important part to make these encounters feel fresh every time is a wide variety of assets and designs for these places. Because if it's basically the same settlement with the same 4 houses every time, it will get old really quickly. But for now we will just have to wait and see how in-depth these random encounters will be. I have good faith though that it's gonna give a fresh spin on the Bethesda formula. And remember, even in Starfield there's always another settlement that needs your help. To anyone who's still here, thank you for watching. We've just hit the 20 subscribers. And if you enjoyed this video, try clicking one of these two. You might enjoy them as well. And then I'll hope to see you guys at the next one.